Okay, so on your journey to esoteric enlightenment, you will have to conquer something that I can describe as the shadow self, or better put, just your dark side. And many people might look at some aspects of occult philosophy, demonology, ritual practice of any kinds of grimoires, of witchcraft, of just hermetic principles and studying things that are outside of maybe the norm or a Hebrew Christian faith, like a traditional faith. They might look at you and think you're doing something evil, or you're exploring, the dark natures of the dark corners of the world, or the dark natures of your mind. And this is something that is vital to alchemy, spiritual alchemy, and just kind of getting past the initiatory phases of things like in Freemasonry and just esoteric knowledge in general. You would need to develop and master to really refine yourself. So to start, let's just give you a rundown of the concept of shadow self without it relating directly to the occult to start with. So the concept of the shadow self refers to the unconscious or negative aspects of a person's personality that they reject or deny. Integrating these shadow elements is essential for personal growth, wholeness, and self-acceptance, while ignoring them can lead to destructive behavior and projection onto others. Practical steps for identifying and working with the shadow include dream analysis, active imagination, embracing dark emotions, and more. Developing a spiritual practice is also important to connect with a deeper sense of self and meaning in life. Embracing the shadow self is encouraged as an essential part of one's psyche and a source of creativity and vitality. So we can see, in a sense, of what they're recommending to master with the shadow self. And you can probably make connections already to things like Solomonic magic and, just playing with the darker natures of our reality and your psyche, and things that might have been scary to you at first, but are essential for you to master, to reach your full potential and power that can come from the occult philosophies of manifesting your will in this reality and achieving your goals through intention, imagination, and emotion. So the concept of the shadow self can play a significant role in occult teachings such as Masonry, Masonic degrees, Rosicrucian teachings, Solomonic magic, and more. In these traditions, the exploration and integration of the shadow self are seen as essential for spiritual development and mastery of oneself. In Masonry, for instance, the shadow self is often represented symbolically as the rough ashlar. So the rough ashlar is symbolic as a new initiate, and in literal terms, an unpolished brick that you would want to build with, but it's not ready to. It's not formed yet. It's not refined. So that obviously, represents the unpolished, unrefined aspects of yourself. But through the process of self-discovery and spiritual transformation, this spiritual alchemy that Hermeticism often refers to, the rough ashlar is transformed into the smooth ashlar, or a good usable brick, representing the integrated and perfected self. So similarly, in Solomonic magic, the shadow self is often seen as the source of personal power and magical potency. By acknowledging and integrating the shadow, magic practitioners can access a deeper wellspring of creativity and potential, and thus power in this material world. Overall, the concept of the shadow self can provide a framework for understanding the transformative potential of occult teachings and practices. By working with the shadow self, practitioners can cultivate a deeper understanding of themselves and their place in the world, unlocking new levels of spiritual insight and power. While demons themselves are often associated with negative or shadow aspects of the self, they are not the same as the shadow self. The shadow self is a psychological concept that refers to the unconscious or repressed aspects of a person's personality that they reject or deny. It includes both positive and negative traits, such as creativity, desires, fears, and impulses. In contrast, demons, in, let's say, Solomonic magic or Enochian magic, are typically seen as supernatural entities that are separate from the self, with their distinct personalities and motivations. While some traditions may view demons as symbolic representations of the shadow self or aspects of the human psyche, that is not a universal belief. I know it's one that famous occult philosophers, say like Poke Runyon, teaches in the Golden Dawn that demons are just psychological parts of the human psyche and the suppressed dark sides of the human psyche that you confront. But obviously this is not what all practitioners believe, and from my experience, it's not what I believe. I also believe most medieval grimoires were not trying to address demons as a psychological aspect of the human mind, and they were more independent entities, and in my belief should be treated as such, but to each its own. It's important to note that the concept of demons varies widely across different cultures and spiritual traditions, and there is no one-size-fits-all definition. Some may view demons as malevolent spirits or fallen angels, while others may see them as benevolent beings or powerful forces of nature. But ultimately, whether or not demons are viewed as the shadow self depends on the individual's beliefs and spiritual framework. Manly P. Hall, one of my favorite philosophers and famous Rosicrucian, and I believe Freemason at some point, in the field, he studied esotericism deeply and spoke and wrote about it very much so. He discussed the concept of demons before himself in various writings and lectures, and his views on demons were informed by his extensive knowledge of various spiritual and philosophical traditions in the occult. And in his book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, he describes demons as elementals or spiritual entities that inhabit the lower planes of existence. He notes that these beings are often associated with negative or destructive forces and may be called upon by practitioners of black magic or sorcery. However, he also notes that demons can be viewed as archetypal representations of the darker aspects of the human psyche. As we stated before, he suggests that by facing and integrating these shadow elements, individuals can overcome their negative tendencies and achieve greater spiritual growth. So whether or not he believed in the first or the latter definition of demons in general, he still recommended that you can confront those shadow elements to achieve that spiritual enlightenment. Overall, his views on demons emphasize the importance of understanding and working with the darker aspects of yourself, and both as a means of spiritual development and as a way to avoid negative influences from external sources. If people don't believe that they have the ability to do evil things or have a dark side themselves, they may be at risk of projecting their negative tendencies onto others or ignoring their own harmful behavior. This can lead to a lack of self-awareness and an inability to take responsibility for one's actions. It can also prevent individuals from engaging in meaningful personal growth and self-improvement. Furthermore, denying the existence of one's shadow self can lead to a disconnection from one's authentic self, as well as a lack of empathy and understanding for others. It can also lead to feelings of shame and guilt when negative emotions or impulses do arise, as they inevitably will for all people, really. Ultimately, acknowledging and integrating the shadow self is essential for personal growth, self-acceptance, and the development of healthy relationships with others. It allows individuals to fully embrace their authentic selves, including their darker aspects, and work towards becoming the best version of themselves. And I can say, people that suffer with a lot of anxiety or fears of, all these agoraphobia or megalophobia, which is the fear of, large things like cruise ships or airplanes, and fear of heights, vertigo, etc. If you challenge yourself, not only in just the exposure to these fears, but I feel like embracing your shadow self and finding out those darker sides to your nature that are just inevitably a part of everyone um, brings you to a point of power where you can approach those situations and, in a sense, you become the monster you fear, but in a controlled state and in one that you understand to use the hermetic principle of polarity and duality. You need to recognize that that is just something that fundamentally exists in everything. We could tie that to several hermetic principles, vibratory and as above, so below, just so many aspects of the Kabbalion and hermetic principles there to be spoken about, I'm sure. But we can see this idea of the shadow self play out in various video games. Me as a gamer and a younger person, we can look at the Legend of Zelda, Dark Link. He kind of mirrors the tendencies and moves of Link and Zelda, our hero there, and our Hyrule warrior. And after facing off against Dark Link, in a sense, he's conquering that shadow self and understanding it more to become powerful and to move forward and to be the hero on the hero's journey, the traditional hero's journey. We can see it in Super Mario. We see Mario and his evil doppelganger Wario, who is his shadow self, basically, and personifies all these characteristics that Mario does not have or show himself in the story or video games, and he has to defeat those. And this is all symbolic. We see this play out in so many video games. Honestly, we have Sonic and Shadow. His name is literally Shadow, which is interesting, but that's like Sonic, but the coloration is black and red instead of blue and white. There's just endless examples of this in popular culture, and I believe it's kind of an archetype. And off the top of my head, I don't know if there's a tarot card that directly relates, but I just can't think of them all off the top of my head. I'm surely there is one that represents this duality. So that's shadow self, embracing your dark side, and thank you for listening.